I think Asia, just because of what's happening in Asia, it invites a level of curiosity in itself. I think that may be an aspect of it. The other one is, again, culturally, it's very accepting, it's very open, it's very inviting, right? So I don't think anybody ever feels uncomfortable walking into it. Because, by the way, Asians, right, look entirely different as Asians. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like we're talking about a singular culture to begin with. So it's not like, you walk in there and the language is the same. I mean, there are aspects of similarity, as we've all spoken about, but it is a massively large continent with extremely different, ethnicities associated in there. So I think that may be an aspect of it, but I'm curious as to what your theory on it is.
Well, let me just comment. It's interesting you should say that because also in Washington, D.C., when we look at our congressional caucuses, right, there's a congressional black caucus. Everyone in there is African American. Congressional Hispanic caucus, pretty much everyone is Hispanic in there or Latino. And the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, right, the KPAC, right, it's interesting because KPAC, there aren't a lot of Asian American members of Congress. And a lot of members in KPAC are actually not Asian American. They're individuals who represent, Asian American constituencies, right? So it's interesting because also in DC, that's the same way too. You have a lot of non-Asians belonging to the appropriate caucus. See, the way I look at it is because I think when you look at Asian American numbers, when we first started out, right, we were much smaller numbers. We're 6% now. Prior census were 4%. We're much smaller numbers, right? And when you have small numbers, quite frankly, it's not that fun. Just Raj and Raj sitting there together for a meeting, right, or an event. So you're actually more inviting of other individuals coming in, right? And that's the thing. I think the other thing too is that Asian Americans often occupy a very unique place in America, right? If you look at race dynamics within the U.S., it's always been called like a black-white dynamic, right? And we saw an example like in 2000, right? The Latino community, it's the decade of the Latinos, right? The Latinos have come to age, right? And Asian Americans, in a sense, I think for the most part, have always been seen as the other, right? And as the other group, you recognize that, right? We're used in wedge group in some arguments. You kind of always caught in the middle. I think there's also a better understanding of being more accepting and having other individuals, come in.